Welcome to the Fantasy Thinker. I'm Jared. So today I was planning on doing a reaction review of Reaper's Gale by Stephen Erikson, Book 7 of the Malazan Book of the Fallen. This is my reread of all things Malazan. And I realize, of course, I can't do any kind of review of this book without having spoilers for any numerous amount of other books that came before it. It's book 7 in the 10-book series, along with going along, being related to other series as well. And so I realized I couldn't do that without giving away spoilers. So this is going to be all spoilers today. And I'm also going to do something a little different. As some of you may know, I take a lot of notes, or I highlight a lot of stuff in the books that I'm reading. Take notes. I highlight stuff. I read a lot of this book on e-reader and Kindle, and so I highlight sections on there, and I take notes and what have you. So I wanted to go through those notes to show like the impact that various sections of this book might have stood out to me and made me go, "Whoa, wait a minute, what was that?" And so um, I wanted to go through those, and I also wanted to say, like, I always have this kind of recency bias with Erikson's books. Whatever book I just finished basically is my favorite one of the series. Reaper's Gale is kind of the companion book to Midnight Tides, which was book 5 in this series. It basically is a sequel to that, but it also contains events post the Bone Hunters, which was book 6, which were very important to this book. And so um, I'm going to go through those things. I wanted to show you. I got my new Bridge Burners T-shirt here. Love this thing. First in, last out. So I just got that today in the mail. So I'm liking that. That was like my own Father's Day gift to me. So uh, without further ado here, let's see. We got on the end of chapter 2 in this book, we kind of find out what the crippled god is up to. Now, the crippled god being the main quote bad guy in this whole series, um, and the wildlands where all the secrets are waiting. So that kind of lays out what's going to happen after this book. The wildlands where all the secrets are waiting. If you read the books after this, you know that um, you know the wildlands to the east of Letherus is where a lot of stuff happens in the next upcoming books. So it's kind of laid out there that in the future this is where we're headed. And there's also a quote from Udnas that I wrote down. Purpose is usually only found after the fact. So that's Udnas being his cynical self there. So that was cool. There was one section I highlighted in my Kindle here. I think you can see it on the screen right there. It's page 151. It says, "He gave her an odd look. I know of no sorcery that can achieve that." That was Silchas Ruin saying that. Now, this is a guy who's been around for hundreds of thousands of years or whatever. He's one of the original Teist Andy, I believe. I think brother to Animander Rake and what have you. And Makra, okay, she replied. And I think he was talking to Seren Pedek. And the Warren of Makra, yeah, no such thing existed in my day. He said, "The Krishnan sorcery, rotted through with chaos as it is, seems recognizable enough to me. I have never heard of this Makra." So that was a very interesting note on the nature of magic in this world. Once again, so magic seems to evolve over time. And of course, Silchas being not being around for a long time, he was trapped for a very long time, um, does not realize that magic has evolved. And so that's a little hint into his personality and what he is, what he knows and what he doesn't know, more importantly, because that just shows that these ancient beings may not know everything, and that they're not all, all that people may fear they may be. And because the more knowledgeable current mages may have, um, some sort of shaved knuckle, if you will. So the next quote you can see on the screen there should say page 158, and it says, "You should choose a better god to worship, Ventrala. Ventrala. Tortured spirits like company, even a god's. Yeah, tortured spirits like company. Okay, so um, then again, perhaps it is the likes of you who have in turn shaped the crippled god. Perhaps without his broken, malformed worshippers, he would have healed long ago." So that's an interesting quote. I'm actually not sure who it's from, uh, and it's interesting because it's kind of saying that the worshippers form the god rather than the god forming the worshippers. And that's a common theme in Mal's and Erikson's books, and that's just highlighted right there. I kind of like that. So if you've been following my channel at all, uh, I already did a video on this whole section that it's highlighted in page 179 there, where the errant is basically telling us in exposition. It's Bug, telling to Whole basically the whole plot of the book here. Of course, it's not exact to the plot of the book, but it tells us a lot that what's going on. And I already did like I said, I already did a video on this section, so we'll skip that one for now. Let me see here. There's also one incident on page 177 that's not in here. It's in my notes here. There was this giant turtle swallowing a nest of its own young, basically. So it was a common thing for these giant creatures just to eat their young instead of letting them go off and live or something like that, which some animals do in the wild. Um, and so, but I thought it was an interesting uh, symbol of devouring your own young. That turtle kind of represents the Letheri Empire eating their own, you know, which can, you may say that that also represents some modern day countries as well. Um, so I thought that was very interesting. And there was one thing. Oh yes, the cripple god I think had a saying in there, and he said, "They have begged me and called it prayer. They have lied to themselves and called it faith." I don't know if that was the cripple god actually. Maybe it might have been. It might have been the errant. So it's one of those two wacky gods, anyways. And so I thought that was just a really neat saying. And another one was, "In time, all things simple acquire greater complexity," and that is absolutely true. And then and then book one ends with Silchas Ruin returning to darkness among an enclave of his own kin's wizards. So I was like, okay, well, that's very interesting. The one thing that came up in here is this concept of the nameless ones, and who they are, and why are they trying to set up, um, Icarium to do what he does in this book, and so on. And his they try to set up Icarium with his keeper, so to speak, a Tarek Vid. And I'm still a little hazy on who exactly they are. Maybe I'll get more information in the next few books. Um, so one thing I found ironic here is on page 299, Erikson introduces us to these new onyx wizards, like kind of out of nowhere. Um, and then Udinus, the slave, he gives us a story lambasting heroic narrative where he's accused of stumbling from his narrative. And he says, life is like that. We stumble astray. Like, that's the point. So once again, Erikson is showing us how this is not your typical fantasy world, and it's not your typical fantasy, your typical story at all. And I like how he uses Udinaz to point out a lot of those story narrative expectations that we are not getting from this series. I thought that was really cool. Um, and then we have there's a conversation between Red Mask and Anastatok at the end of chapter 8. I think it was fascinating. It's comparing the impact of unchanged song to ever-changing words. So that was kind of profound there. I was like, oh wow, that's very interesting. And it was related to the impact of tribal purity to empire-based conglomeration, specifically like Maoism, um, and then tribals using fire to fight fire. And so, like, that social commentary, you could really go really deep down a rabbit hole in this series about what kind of social commentary that is, and how far you want to go is up to you. It's really, but the opportunity to go as deep as you want is there, and that's the beauty of this whole world. And Erikson's writing, and Esselman too, when in his books, is you can really go deep down the social commentary rabbit hole, and explore that as far as you want. Um, but I liked that conversation. And let's see, we got another quote here. Oh yeah. Lying in a ditch amongst the waste of humanity is something I would recommend to any nascent poet. The rhythms of ebb and flow, the legacy of what we discard, wealth like liquid gold. I just thought that was an unbelievable quote. It was funny as hell, I thought. Um, let's see, 436 we have here on the screen. Skull. Okay. I am yours now. You are mine. Worshipper and worshipped. Locked together in mutual hate. Oh, won't that twist things? Yes. You should have found someone else, errant. I have read the histories. Destrian, Destri, Anant. God chosen, the well of spirit. Featherwitch. You are mine. I am yours. And listen to my prayer. Listen. Your Destria demands it. That was Featherwitch speaking to the errant, where she kind of tricked him into being his Destria. Um, and the errant was not happy with the situation, but there didn't seem to be anything he could do about it. Featherwitch has really attained some power there. I think she ended up stealing his eye or something like that. It reminded me of the religion of rage. That's why I put that note there, which was is the poem in the front of the very first page there of the Cripple God, the last book in this series, and in how this is part of that religion of rage. which consumes everybody in this series. It consumes a lot of people on this world as well. Um, so there you go, social commentary again. But I thought that was a very interesting quote there. And next, I also have on page 441, I have a note in this notebook here where Samar Dev captures the ghost of a former cedar into her knife. And I thought that was very interesting and key at the time. And it turns out I was right, because then when you get to the end of the book, that comes into play big time. And then the end of book two, uh, I kind of get a better understanding of who the Sheik are. The Sheik are a people on the shore of Letheri. And that moment when the Sheiks spot the Malazans coming to land, that kind of sent chills up my spine. That was like, okay, that was pretty cool, because you knew the Malazans were coming, and eventually, and that moment where they saw the Malazans coming to the Letheri shore, the shores of the Sheik, were really cool. And the Sheik play a bigger role in the later books, which I never really could place where they were when I read this series the first time. But now that I'm paying, more attention, now I'm like, oh, okay, that's who the Sheik are. And I'm kind of, it makes more sense now this time around. Um, let's see. And then we get that character Beak, the mage Beak. We get another glimpse with that character into how magic works, and he suddenly became my new favorite character when I started reading him. And poor Beak. We anyone who read this, we know what happens to him, but that was pretty cool. If you look further on in my notes here on the screen, we got this one here. No, I already read that. We got. All right. Yes, right there. Page 525. I've heard many a prayer muttered, hands flashing toward this and that, as befits each soul's need. It's conversation with fear begun in childhood, no doubt, and could I recall mine, I too would have been of mind to mime flight from terror. I found that an interesting observation about the futility of prayer. Ah, and then up to page 544. Unwitnessed. There was a crime in that notion, a profound injustice against which he railed. I believe that's in reaction to um, Tavo's speech to her troops about how their actions from this point forward will be unwitnessed, which is the exact opposite of what I would know that what Casa Oolong wants. Well, he's always saying witness, and he wants to bring his weapon down. That was just a nice spot I highlighted there. Next highlight, we said all of this told Kenneth one thing. She knew from the very beginning. She knew where we were going, and she planned for it. Now that's Kenneth's point of view in that observation. Did she really know? Do we, the readers, think she really knew all along? Um, that's that's tough. It's tough to call. I I still don't know. I guess I'll have to wait and find out when I read more. You know, can she really know that far ahead before the Bone Hunters? Or when she was heading, or maybe in the Bone Hunters, she kind of knew that. It's ah, hard to know. The next one I have highlighted: the Basset can change into a damn dragon, and is Silchas a pacifist at heart? Hardly. He kills with all the compunction of a man swatting mosquitoes. Did he turn us away to spare our lives? Again, unlikely. A dragon doesn't leave behind anything alive, does it? So right there, I think that's Serempedek's viewpoint. Um, and right there that we have Erikson defying the stereotype of a dragon by pointing out the stereotype of dragons. So using the convention against itself to defy the convention. And I found that very interesting there. And as we go on, we look upon him, page 659. Look upon him and see what comes when justice is vengeance, when challenge is criminal, when skepticism is treason. Call upon them, Emperor. It's kind of like that old Ozymandias poem, right? Gaze upon my works and despair. Next quote. You willfully blinded yourselves to the one thing that can destroy you. That is, perhaps destroying your kind, even now. Some trouble on the continent of a sail? Yes. Um, I think that is referring to the IMAS. Um, and that I think will probably tie into Ian Esselmon's novel A Sail. Um, but I highlighted that just because of that mention, because it was kind of just an offhand mention by Erikson, and here doesn't come up again in this book. And so I was just like, oh, wait a minute. Okay. The next one I have page 777. That beasthold, or whatever it had been called, had been seated with the souls of Talanamas, or at least the memories of those souls. And I think that ties into Memories of Ice. So that was once again another throwaway line, well, a seemingly throwaway line that I thought was very cool by Erikson to put in there. 788, Gessler and convinced. So the truth is, no one knows the truth about Aaron. Just like I suppose pretty soon no one will know the truth about Coltane and the Chain of Dogs, or Spares Below, the Adjunct and the Brotherhoods, the Bone Hunters at Egatan and at Malice City. He felt a chill whisper through him then, as if he stumbled onto something profound about history, as it was remembered, as it was told and retold, as it was lost to lies when the truth proved too unpleasant. And so I put a little note here that says history is just full of unreliable narrators. And of course, anyone who's seen my channel knows I have a thing about unreliable narratives. I did a whole section on it, relating unreliable narrators in fiction to even unreliable narrators in our own history. So that was a very special highlight for me. We move on to page 837. Is there a difference between spilled blood and blood squeezed out slowly, excruciatingly over the course of a foreshortened lifetime of stress, misery, anguish, and despair, all in the name of some amorphous god that no one dares call holy, even as they bend knee and repeat the litany of sacred duty? I kind of think that's a little dig at Christianity at its peak there. Um, that's my view on it. And I'm going to stick with it. All right, let's move on to page 874. At some point, no matter how repressive the regime, the citizenry will come to comprehend the vast power in their hands. The destitute, the indebted, the beleaguered middle classes, in short, the myriad victims. Control was sleight of hand trickery, and against 100,000 defiant citizens, it stood no real chance. All at once, the game was up. So is that kind of a view of the crippled god? Is that the crippled god's game? So I thought that was a very interesting quote to pull out of there. And then the next one on page 895, you say, yes, yes, indeed, the empire of the crippled god. Well, one of them anyway. That's key. uh, an emperor in chains, a people in thrall. A quick glance over the shoulder as the man led him into the corridor to the right. That would be you, Ida, not the Letheri, who are in thrall to a far crueler master. Coin. Well done. Yes. Yeah. That's a nice quote out of there. And once again, another look into society. And then we have never mind the truth. The past is what I say it is. That is the freedom of teaching the ignorant. So that's a nice little line there that says, yes, we must be non-ignorant to our own past. We have to be better than those in the past, and those, so we don't repeat the mistakes. But we have to also not take someone's word as they say it. We have to find out for ourselves, think for ourselves. So that there was another excellent highlight quote I had from there. There was also one note I had written in the book here. There was a scene where um, Troll and Onrak and um, Onrak the Broken, yeah, and was meeting up with the other Imas and Rud Alau, the son of Udnas, and it was the perfect situation where these there's a bunch of tension and these two parties are meeting up, and you think, oh no, here comes the battle, and then they resolve it peacefully, and it was like, oh wow. Once again, expectations subverted, tropes subverted, reverted, whatever you want to call it. So though, sorry for the time jump there. I had to cut that other video off where it was because I was done and didn't realize that stopping the share would stop the video. So here I am, wrapping it up. Reaper's GALE, Book 7 in the Maoism Book of the Fallen. One of the best reads I'll ever have, that you'll ever have if you ever get to it. I hope you do. It's wonderful. It's, my favorite book right now of the year. It's a reread, so it won't be in the running for best book of the year, but still, I love this series. I love this book, and I can't wait to get to more. I'm going to be reading Stone Wielder next by Altamont, and then after that, I'll get into Toll the Hounds. And when I'm done that, most likely that'll be my favorite book of all time. Uh, it's, like I said, very much recency bias when it comes to reading Erikson stuff. So that's my reaction to Reaper's GALE. I hope you got something out of this one. It's a little different kind of a format for me. Just rambling on and telling you all my thoughts along the way as I read this book. So, if you like that, please like and subscribe. Please let me know in the comments what you think. And please be good to each other.